What the fauna?
What the fauna? Welcome back to
Part 2
Our
of
first
Kangaroo.
two-parter.
Apparently, I have a lot of stories, and it makes things go longer.
And they're awesome stories. Two-pronged penis-wielding marsupials giantly chasing you around.
I had a story for that. You were
We're gonna
talking
hit
about
the ground
on the
running
last
today. We're
episode.
bouncing.
You were talking about the something about Mary thing, right?
Yes.
And it was,
Yes.
but you were talking about the beans above the Frank. Well, I have another something about Mary thing involving these kangaroos. Because one
Not
time
the
I
beans
remember.
above the Frank?
Well, what
Was it licking the beans to cool them down?
The
Licking the
kangaroo.
Frank to cool it down.
It had more to do with the
God.
hair part of the scene where she gets the stuff in her hair.
Oh, yes.
So what was going on was I was out in the bachelor field and I found all the we had like 200 kangaroos in this field, and we have them ear notched so you were 100% sure who's who. But so basically there's a pattern of notches and they correspond to letters and numbers, which then goes into the record.
Do you know where that was developed? That was developed right here in the US of A for hogs in the southern part of the United States. So people knew whose hogs were who.
Yep. And this one we have just so many, so we had like a whole process to figure it out. But then they also have a tattoo that also has their number.
Because ear tags are just so not cool.
I worked with them so long I could actually identify them by face. And I could actually tell you who was who. And if I randomly saw a kangaroo, I remember one time being in a field and I was like, looking at one, I'm like, wait, that looks like Rosie, but Rosie's not out here. Turned out it was her daughter, and her daughter just had grown up to the point where she looked like an adult female. Finally,
so I was able to tell your mama.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
that's actually really sweet.
But anyway, I was looking for I think it was Robbie this day, and he's a younger male, but he's older. He's like 3 or 4 years old, and I'm looking for him. Could not find him. Then finally I'm like, all of them are over here for feeding. Where the hell is he? Then I find him on the far, far opposite end of the field, way far away from everybody else. And I'm like, what are you doing over here by yourself? Usually that's a bad sign, but he wasn't acting off. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And he's just licking vigorously.
Licking what?
And then I get up there and I see what he's licking, and it is his penis. And right as I get there, he looks up and just starts ejaculating all over himself because the carrot kind of aims up and at him.
Wow.
So he just sprays his entire chest. And last episode, you mentioned how these guys have more than what a hog does because they do that. And I pointed out that they do the seminal plug. So he's just covered. His chest is just covered. And I go back and I tell everybody because we have to go back and we give
Robbie is busy.
Support. And I warn everybody. I'm like, hey, his hair might be a little weird this evening. And I explained what happened. They're like, we didn't need to know that. And I was like, if I suffered through it, you have to suffer through it.
Okay, so we're going to add this onto the list. So kangaroos have made eye contact with you while ejaculating all over their own face, while licking their own balls. Okay, all right. Well,
and so I go back and the PM checker, because we have to check them in the morning and the evening on our way in and on our way out, make sure we have those times covered. The person who checked the outer fields that day, comes back and goes, Robbie's chest was all curly. And I couldn't stop thinking about your story from the story. You're welcome. You're welcome.
A decent amount of something in it to make hair jelly.
Well, it's just semen. Okay. It's just a ton of semen.
I'm just trying to think about what's in hair gel that's like semen. That my brain.
Remember they have the seminal plug, so that's definitely it solidifies over as it dries out. So
oh god,
yeah.
Anyway, well, welcome to part 2 of kangaroos. We're doing macropods, the whole big group of them. Kind of an overview. Yep. Yes, this is Whitney, our famous kangaroo wrangler, and oh, good lord.
I mean, I did do that, but
yeah, well, and I'm Jen, and I just happen to really like animals. Whitney and I met in college. We had a great time, and we are here to now talk about animals, hopefully educate, and even more hopefully, least make you laugh.
Yes.
I
And this
mean,
is not a
human
kids
sex is
program.
ridiculous, but other sex is even more ridiculous.
And this is not a kids program if you couldn't tell
Oh
already.
no, sorry. Yeah, if you had your kids sit through that, I, I,
Well, their
I,
life choice.
you know what? Yeah, that's your life choice. There you go. Just
They
maybe. Yeah, I got nothing
yeah.
on that.
So
So our
basically,
last episode, we highly recommend you listen to because it was all about more the physical mating of kangaroos and the more oh god, oh lord, no,
yep.
yeah. I made a lot of facial expressions that were
There's only
I
so
would
much you can read, and then basically I helped explain how it actually
yes.
works.
Yeah, because I'd read a lot and I actually had to have some diagrams because I was like, well, that
That makes
doesn't seem like that would work. Why would the
yes.
urethra go through the uterus? Huh. So yeah, but it's a great episode. It's award winning. I'm making up award shows now. Hey, I can make up an award
We can
show.
wake up
Give us
awards.
an
I know people.
give us
If
one
those
award.
people selling those pills on TikToks and the
Yeah.
various things can make up certificates, we can make up awards.
We can make them up too. No, there wasn't there some senator or something who who didn't get into his doctoral program, so he made up an entire doctoral program for himself to get in, declared himself, ha, I'm an eye doctor now. And it's like, no, I guess you are. You own the institutes.
I'm
Anyway,
sure somebody's done that because
yeah.
that's how
So we're
certificates work.
kind of doing that, maybe.
Well,
You
it's
know,
like the Tiger King. At one point in time, he said he was certified by this organization. Well, the organization was his own organization. Like there was no, yeah. It was like I certified myself.
I have given the last episode, part 1 of Kangaroos, a What in the Fauna award, for, the most talk about cloacas and what goes on up there.
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
yes, that's my award I've given us.
different. The thing is, people just don't understand cloacas. They're because we're placental
Humans are
now.
very hands-on. We need, I guess, more exploration of
We're
more
very what we are is species centric.
we
We're
are.
very species centric. We
Oh,
know
yeah.
ourselves. We know the things that are like us, and then after that, we're like, nah. Do we really care?
No, it's alien. It's all
Yes,
alien.
it's alien. Well, I mean, that's to
Um,
get to the insects. That's usually how we depict aliens as
is
insects.
insectoid.
Like that's not an alien. That's on our planet.
But we can't, I mean, there's so much. Eventually we'll probably do a two-parter of that too. We'll do the mantis shrimp, and then we'll go into some truly psychotically science fiction-y type stuff because this thing can do stuff that our brains cannot even comprehend.
Oh yeah, no,
So, yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
the
so we're just
shrimp.
yeah, we're trying to comprehend it as best we can. So, but anyway, so part
Back to
2
the
of
kangaroos.
the kangaroos. The Can
So
I say it again? Can I say it? Macropodia? Just I love that word.
Macropodidae. Macropodidae.
Macropodia.
Yeah,
The
which
Bigfoots, which as you mean.
the big kangaroos are the big, or what we call kangaroos. But this Macropodidae, the big feet, go from the size of rats all the way to the size of kangaroos. The big
They're all
kangaroos, the size
marsupials.
of a
They're
man.
all pretty boss.
Yep, and the males are real
Um,
muscular. They can throw you around. My boss got thrown by one. He was raking, and the male snuck up on him, bear hugged him, and then threw him 5 or 6 feet. And my boss is about my size. That my boss from there.
we're talking 6'3", eats
Yep.
well.
Yes.
Not great, but well. Yeah. So that brings us up. We talked about their fighting a little bit last time.
Yes.
And so they fight over what every species fights over. They fight over resources, whether that's access to females, or the females actually will fight each other too. The females will fight over because they live in more of a desert type areas, some of them.
Well, only the reds.
Only the reds. But that's the classic picture we all see with the didgeridoo music in the back.
Yeah.
And the kangaroo jumping over the red plain. So it's kind of deserty. But the females will fight over water.
Yep.
They'll fight over the best, the newest, yummiest shoots and stuff. So these guys learn to fight. Pretty much
fight over a kangaroo bed.
Okay.
Which is just basically they dig these little divots in the ground.
Aww.
And those divots
little
actually become
nest.
part of the ecosystem. Yeah. Well, it's actually what it is they have very big hips, and it makes the ground fit their hip. But it also does
one
a
of
couple
those
other
really
things.
like sexy, big hipped Salvador Dali kangaroos.
Yeah, but it also does a couple other things because, as you said, these are also in the reds in particular are from deserty regions. So if it's hot, they kick the surface dirt off, and then you have the cool dirt underneath, and then
yeah,
and
because they're about keeping cool.
And it does also help with the ecosystems because it becomes a place where water pools when it does rain.
Oh, very nice.
So the kangaroos use it, and all the other wildlife use the kangaroo beds.
Yeah, so kangaroos,
But
they
they'll fight
fight
over
like from like an early age. Like kangaroo boxing is like you'll see like videos and stuff of the babies. They're just like coming out of the pouch,
mom,
like play fighting with their mom. Like, I'm gonna get you, mom. And
yeah.
mom's like, yeah, whatever.
Vast majority of the time, though, you're not watching the females do it. An
No,
adult
it's
female doesn't
mostly
do it.
it's mostly. But what was interesting
Well,
is there
they will
was
do it with their child
okay, yes,
because they teach their child how to do it.
yeah. So they're doing it, and sometimes the males will get in, the young juveniles, so they learn to fight. But different size kangaroos and wallabies fight differently. So what I thought was really interesting is the really big guys do more of the headlocks, and they're trying to throw each other to the ground. They're trying to throw each other to the ground, keep the guy in the ground until they give up. Yeah, that's how they give up, just like that. They cough. They sit in the ground, like it's kind of like tapping out, and they have to do it a few times because sometimes the big guy who's beating them up doesn't hear them.
It's never as clean as they say in the thing.
They make it sound like the other one's just like, oh well.
No, they usually beat the hell out of the other one, and the other one starts running, and they'll chase him a little bit, and they go, "Oh, yeah." What did do the? They literally do the chest throw thing.
But so the bigger ones will actually kind of go and they like kind of use their arms to kind of stabilize themselves and try and grab at the other one, and then they'll try and headlock them. They'll try and throw them to the ground. As to where the smaller ones will do more of the stick and move tactics.
Yes,
which I thought was really cool. It's like the little guys are like, all right, I know I'm not gonna like toe to toe with you like 6 inches away, so I'm gonna like, it's kind of like using a broadsword versus a fencing weapon. You gotta like kind of whittle them down.
The smaller ones tend to not have as well formed forelimbs. Like they don't pentapedal as much as the big guys. So that we talked about pentapedaling. That's the 5-step movement where they basically are using their front legs and their back legs, and then their tail is a 5th foot, and they kind of just move slowly that way. Which really, you're basically walking by doing small push-ups nonstop.
Yeah,
it makes it pretty buff.
Very buff.
The little guys, they just tend to just do these quick little hops more than the pentapedaling.
What I didn't see was I wanted to see some like velociraptor type shit where they whip their tail. That did not happen. Nowhere did I see that they use the tail itself as a weapon.
Their tail is primarily just a balancing mechanism. So when they're hopping, like if they're like if you take a sharp turn, they'll swing the tail the other way so they don't topple over, kind of thing. Just helps with balance and stuff, and then it also bounces to kind of counteract and help with energy efficiency of the hop. But
and they think they store fat in there for like down times too. So if you go up to your kangaroo bay and say, "Hey babe, that tail is fat," that's good.
Yes. So actually and we would do health checks that way. A lot of times we could, because you can see like if you can see the spine of the tail, then they're basically emaciated. And if you can't see the bones, but it's smooth, they're pretty much perfect in that what we call a 3. Usually when we're doing a assessment of that, it's a scale of 1 to 5, with 3 being the goal, 4 and 5 being too overweight, and 2 and 1 being underweight. So, and then if you're overweight, what you end up with is these rolls, and where the joints, where you see like the spine bumps, that actually divots down because there's
like no a jelly roll tail.
Yes, like a jelly rolling like tail. A Tootsie Roll, like with the bumps in the Tootsie Roll, kind of deal. So
be like, Ethel, really, you've got to learn to share.
Yeah, I was talking about identifying family lines. I worked with them so far, day in, day out. one of them,
Do they
like
teach secret techniques like ninjas, like the various ninja schools? Do fathers and mothers teach their young like,
fathers
"Hey,
don't do
here."
shit.
Okay, yeah, fathers don't do shit.
The
But
mothers
the
actually
mothers were like, "Hey, sweep the leg, Johnny."
right.
Like,
Well, they just kind of wrestle around. But there is a fun little fact we're starting to realize that in these like maternal led things, of course, the patriarchy wants to say like, oh, all the advancements come from the men. Actually, what it turns out is the advancements come from the women, because if one of the
are we
if
just
one of the
talking about
males,
kangaroos, or are we talking about great show?
it's whoever's taking care of the kids, because what
Yeah,
happens
usually.
is whoever's taking care of the kids is the one that's actually teaching the next generation. So if a male comes up with something new, it never gets passed on. So yeah, he might have this secret technique, but it's done as far as the species is concerned.
He's like,
but
don't interlace the fingers, keep them like this, and
well,
you know,
they're starting to find that with primates, like tool usage and tool advancement is actually based on the females, because the females are the ones teaching the young, so therefore it goes to the next generation. But if a male has a technique, it basically dies with that male.
Well, then I think we've all learned something today.
Yes.
Listen to your mothers.
Right. But anyway, they're kangaroos are not the brightest of things. They're very basic.
They are iconic. They are cool. We're gonna talk about how they are like probably the best rudiments for the environment there are. But yeah, I don't ever see a kangaroo and go, wow, now there's a smart cookie.
Yeah. So one of the things with the fighting though that's really interesting. So the males, I mean, yeah, they do grab and wrestle each other, but for the most part, all they do is just grab each other's shoulders, kick each other really hard until one gives up.
You know what? I think if human males fought that way, things would be a little better. Because I mean, human males end up aiming for the head, which causes them to be dumber. If you guys just kick the balls, like,
well, this is actually the point that I was just about to make.
Oh,
so when they are fighting, they actually flip their head back, so they aren't looking at each other when they're fighting. They actually can bend their head back, and it's almost like taking a Pez dispenser and opening it all the way up.
I'm like,
so their face doesn't get hit because their head's way back. They just start kicking each other, which is also one of the reasons why they have to grab a hold, because they don't actually see.
They have to like figure out where the other guy is.
They got to know where the other guy is.
And I don't know if we said kangaroo testicles are approximately, think belly button. Yeah, that's where they are.
Up on the yes, but
equated to humans, their belly button area.
Huh? Yeah, and they can suck them in pretty well, or have a 2-foot dangle.
They can suck them in.
Yeah, just like human men.
Ew!
Like, have you heard of shrinkage and cold water?
I know, but we also talked about one holding on to its testicles and bringing them up to its face.
They can have a 2-foot
these
dangle.
Scrotum sacks have like a 6-foot range?
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 feet. It's a 2 or 3 foot tendon that they just kind of like let them in or out.
Those Vad Stefferins are doing a lot of work.
Yes, yeah, it's that tendon goes pretty good. And I mean, as I said in the last one, that one boy, he was 6'5", and he was holding it straight up to his mouth without any effort, just licking away.
His balls were hot. You know,
they're dirty. I need to lick my balls.
They were hot because we talked about they don't sweat.
Looking at me like, you know, you would if you could.
No, and you looked back and said, "Yes, I would."
No.
No, any of you would. Anyway, so which goes into their so the fighting's pretty cool, kind of how they do it. Not that I don't approve of humans fighting animals. The animals don't know why they're there. That's just stupid.
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be a dick. But get your friend to act like a kangaroo. Have him watch a lot of kangaroo fights. Have him act like a kangaroo. I don't know. Strap a pogo stick to his ass, and then you can get like a simulator.
You guys can kick at each other. Yeah.
There you go, like an Oculus. Like it's a pseudo. You're pseudo fighting a kangaroo. Whatever. So, do you want which end do you want to do? Do you want to do locomotion, or do you want to do what they eat? Because both are totally
wherever
awesome.
You want to go next, and we'll talk about.
All right, you want to do locomotion? Because their locomotion is amazing. Yeah. So kangaroos, coolest thing, the faster they go, the less energy they use.
Which is why hopping with that is very good. It has its. We talked about
Yeah.
one of the minuses of it is that you can't turn very easily because
Mhm.
you can only turn when your foot hits something, and if your foot's only hitting
Yeah.
something every 40 feet or something like that, or basically the length of an entire school bus between hops, you can't turn. So when I'd have to get away from a kangaroo who was pissed off at me, I'd find like a thing of bamboo or a big fat tree and just run circles around it because I could go circles better than they could.
You can change direction. But I
Yes.
mean, they are some of the fastest land mammals on the planet. They can go up to about
Correct.
45 miles an hour.
Yep.
It's really fucking fast. And in fact, I guess they had to like check how far they could hop in one single go. And at full flat out go, they found 25 feet
Yep.
between when their feet land, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, that that beats our Olympians, I'm pretty sure. Um,
Oh yes.
so yeah, so as they go, they've got interesting tendons in their ankles and knees that
Yep.
store energy. So it's remember high school physics, guys, and we talked about potential energy.
Yeah.
So
Basically,
these
it's a big
guys,
rubber band.
yeah, they store the potential energy um when so they
Well,
land.
mhm.
No, go for it. They
So what it is that's why they have the big feet. If you remember levers, the longer it is, the more force and power there is to it. So with their big feet, when they land, it stretches out that tendon with enough force from that lever system,
that it kind of flings them
and it
back forward.
and then now they have that big muscle with the working like a rubber band that's just being held. And then once they activate that tendon to go with the muscle, then it once again that lever system flings them
Mhm.
a pretty good distance. I've seen them jump over 15 foot. I remember one day
Man.
we had a kangaroo, and you'll always go to these zoos and they'll only have like 8-foot fencing because that's pretty standard. And for the most part, kangaroos don't go over it and a lot of those animals actually don't go over it because they tend to be group animals. They don't want to leave the group. However, if something startles them and they jump, they end up over, and then they're like, "How
Then
do
they're
we
like,
get back?"
ha, 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 ha.
I don't know how I did, but one day we were about to ship one. Can't remember if he was going to Brazil. I think he was going to Brazil to a zoo down there, and we did our stuff with him. But it was the first time he'd been away from the big mob. He didn't realize he was going to go with the mob with the ladies because we just pulled him out of the bachelor field, and
And he was like, "No, my friends." Oh, and he hadn't realized. Oh, hello, ladies. He hadn't realized it yet.
What he realized is that he could jump those fences. And I tell you what, we had a person on the top of the roof to eye him because once he realized he could jump over, that's what he was doing. Like it was the first time we'd ever ran into that, where he's just like, "I'm going into." We're like, "He's in field L. He's in field M." Ah,
He's
crap!
all
Now he's in
Jurassic
field.
Park. Where has he last been
Yeah,
spotted?
yeah, exactly. He's
There he
just
goes.
jumping fence to fence. So we had to
Oh,
have somebody on the roof spotting so that we knew where he was because we kept having to run in through doors.
mhm.
Well, he's just like boing, boing, boing.
That's
Oh,
hilarious. A la Looney Tunes stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And then their tail acts like not a rudder that keeps them kind of leveled so they don't fall over, but also a pendulum.
yeah.
So, oh,
Well,
and I read this is one of the greatest articles I ever read, and I call bullshit. So sometime in the 1980s, scientists quote taught kangaroos to run on a treadmill and wear special gas masks. Taught my ass. No one taught a kangaroo to run on
yeah,
a
you can
fucking
teach him to do
treadmill.
that.
You
You can do
can't.
that.
I was just sitting there like no
That's literally how
Pongo.
you have to do a lot of
Okay,
these experiments.
so what the scientists did, they put gas masks on them and put
Yeah,
them on treadmills, and they weren't trying to hurt them. They were trying to test and experiment with their respiration, and
yeah,
found the faster they went, the less hard they breathed, the less oxygen they needed to pull in
correct.
to metabolize. So humans, quadrupeds, all of us need drastically more oxygen when we're going faster because we're burning so much more energy. That was
Yeah,
kind of when they first started learning that these guys are burning a lot less energy. And for an area like Australia where you do need to go from place to place, it's an incredibly efficient way of moving.
hmm
It's absolutely remarkable. And So, you know how Whitney always tells us about how we learn so much from animals that we can use pretty much in our own technology now.
Yeah.
I am up for the bouncing car. Get me
Well,
the bouncing car.
they did already make something based on that.
Oh, we did?
Yeah,
What?
multiple times. It is it's for soldiers trekking long distances. You
Are we
should look it up.
trebucheting them? Like, what?
No, it's
No.
basically like this giant thing you get in, and then basically it gives you kangaroo feet, and then you just like start running. And
Oh,
you can
bullshit. I want a kangaroo mech.
It looks like a fucking mecha suit thing that you wear, but
Oh,
it's
I
just
know what I'm
using
doing
the
after
spring
this.
system of hopping that the kangaroos utilize.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
and basically you can carry like a 500-pound pack for miles with this
Oh my
thing.
god. Because yeah, these
And
guys are
not even
speed
it's
and
just
long
human
distance.
powered. Yeah, it's not like mechanically powered. It's just the human motion of the
Oh,
person.
that's awesome.
I don't know
Does
if
it come
they
with a tail?
No, it
I
does
don't know
not
why I
come
want
with
the
a tail.
I need the pendulum tail, god damn it. But you know, like normally in the animal kingdom, you see there's usually a trade-off. You get speed or distance. Like a tortoise can walk for days very slowly. A cheetah can run for a minute incredibly fast. You don't usually get both. Like wolves, all right, they can pretty much kind of do both, but not kangaroos can huge speed, huge
Yeah.
distance.
They
I
cover
wonder how it
quite a
is
bit.
slowing down. I wonder if there's a learning curve for slowing
So,
down.
with slowing down, here's the slowing down thing. Everyone talks about like their big nails, and they're like, "Oh, it's for talons, for kicking." That's not what those are for. They don't
Is it for
slash each
slowing
other.
down?
They just, yeah. You think of it like a stopper on a skate. Where's the
Like a
stopper on the?
rollerblade stopper, but it's the toe. You're like,
Yeah. Well, think of like how roller skates. They have that stopper on the front.
uh-huh.
That's how
Yeah.
their toe
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
I don't think that can they stop on a dime? It doesn't seem
They
like
can
they'd be
stop
able
very
to.
quickly. Yes.
They can? Okay. Because
Yeah.
I would be like, we can't stop. We have to slow
But
down
the problem is
first.
also
Stop this thing.
in
I order
zoological settings.
you.
The problem is also they have all that energy. They can jump really fast, really quick. And
Mhm.
if you startle them, I've seen it happen, and it really messed with me a couple times. But they will hit their heads into the fence and die. That's how they have enough
Oh.
force to just shatter their own body. They
Whoa.
jump straight
Okay,
into the
so
fence.
because they don't when they fight, they usually rear their heads back, so they're not used to taking head impacts.
Well,
Okay.
no, it has nothing to do with that. They can take
Well,
head
no,
impact just like anything else. It has to do with the fact that they went from 0 to 40 miles per hour with 2 feet of distance
you
before
know,
they
but
hit
like if
something.
you think of like goats and stuff, they smash their heads, but their heads are kind of made for that.
Their heads
That's
are
what
made
I'm
for that, but
thinking.
also if the goat doesn't have its neck aligned, then it will
True.
break its neck. So if they align their neck, they do that. But no, this is
Oh, no
just
wonder you guys are always like talking to them like, don't surprise them. They might kill
yeah.
themselves.
And
Don't
this is with
surprise them. They might
anything that
kill themselves.
hops, like deer, anything like that can do that quick motion.
Okay.
There's actually
Prey
like
animals.
pronghorns. We always hand raised pronghorns, which usually we don't want to hand raise animals too much, but we'd always hand raise pronghorns because they are so spooky, so that we needed them to not be spooky in the zoo because they would just literally just fly into the thing. So
They
any
dack
prey
themselves.
animal
Yeah.
that can get that much speed and momentum that quickly, it's just they hit a brick wall.
All right, moms and dads,
Yeah.
get your kid once again. Get your kid a guinea pig. A guinea pig isn't gonna kill itself.
Yeah.
What? What? No, we're not talking about parents eating children. We're talking about a guinea pig moving fast enough to snap its own neck.
No, they
Ain't
just
happening.
fall. They just fall because they're not paying attention if you put them on too high of a surface.
I never said they were smart. In fact,
No.
I have always been a fan of the dumber animals. I like dumb animals because then they don't challenge my authority. They're just like, oh, this is the way it is.
I'm always the opposite. I'm like, even at the zoo, every
I
time
don't like a challenge when I get home. I deal with enough challenges out in real life.
every animal I picked and had the best bond with were like
I'm
the
gonna
most
get a
challenging.
melon
Nobody would
no.
ever. They're like, nope, we can't get this one. Bojangles. I saw him during a thing. He ended up dying because he did hit his head, or he flew into a wall.
Kangaroo?
But yeah, he was a 230-pound kangaroo male.
I'm just thinking about like dogs. Like you're over there with your Belgian Malinois, and I'm over here with an English bulldog.
Yes. But
he licks windows.
Bojangles, nobody could get anybody to feed him, and then I eventually got him to eat from my hand. It took a lot of effort, but I was still.
Did you have to rub his chest a lot?
No, he wouldn't. No, because okay,
he wouldn't let you go.
The red kangaroos, they don't actually growl that much. So the western gray kangaroos, they growl. The red kangaroos and the eastern grays, they actually go.
They click.
They click. That's what they do. They don't actually growl. They sometimes growl, but mostly they're clicking. And then the western gray kangaroos, they growl angrily. So this guy was huge
and growling,
taller than me, and he would go, and he was just one of those ripped.
I hate to say it, like, I don't ever wish this to happen, but mentally I'm going through what would happen if Whitney went to prison. He would be sitting there, be like looking at people trying to intimidate him, and to be like, "You're less impressive than a wallaby." Like, I've had birds bigger than you try and fuck my face.
I was watching Critical Role a few weeks ago, and it was like a weird off thing. So they were just taking questions from the audience while they did weird things with Baldur's Gate. And one of the questions that came in was, "What animal do you think you can take?" And then they listed ostrich, German Shepherd, and kangaroo. And I was like, they listed those three, and I'm like, I've literally fought each of those animals. I know they can take those.
So now we're up to 5 animals that Whitney has had to wrangle.
I've gotten more than that.
No. I'm doing it as per episodes. Last episode we're up to 3. Now we've added German Shepherd and an ostrich onto that. But this is not the ostrich story. There will be ostrich shows, but not those. Oh, okay. So our other count that I always do is animals used for erectile dysfunction. And kangaroos. What do you guys think, everybody? Are kangaroos used to help human erectile dysfunction? We're at a 60% of the animals we covered have been. Anybody? It's a huge motherfucking yes.
Yep.
One of the larger exports of Australia to China is
kangaroo balls. Yep.
Thanks to these big buff motherfuckers who pump out buckets worth of sperm. Certain people believe that if they eat their testicles,
ejaculate.
Excuse me. There is a difference.
A little bit of a sperm.
Because of all the ejaculate and their buff, there's a group of people who believe.
I know of at least one person who uses a kangaroo nutsack as a dice bag for D&D.
I don't know if that's in the same category. Like, I would hold one of those. I can't really see myself doing, but theoretically use a taxidermy nutsack for something. But I can't actually physically see myself putting these belly button testicles in my mouth to eat.
Oh yeah.
No. Much less a large export. Like you can actually buy them in America. I found several websites.
They're not endangered in any way. They're in Australia. Most of the time, these guys are considered a nuisance, similar to our white-tailed deer in North America.
I would eat one, not the testicles. I would eat the meat. I hear it's quite good. In fact, people use the skin. They use. I mean, they're not endangered. They're everywhere. They're doing well. They're a healthy population, quite diverse. But yeah, so Australia, they are a big export. Their meat, but mostly their testicles. Yeah. So well done, humans. You've thrown my ratios off again. Well done. Humans will put anything in their mouth just to get a boner.
Before we move away from the locomotion too much, there is a disadvantage with that tendon thing that I ran into. I mean, it's not so much a disadvantage in the wild, but because they don't have a lot of musculature actually there in their leg,
it's all that
big tendon. Well, the whole leg, like what most people think looks like 2 bones. It's a bone and then just that tendon. But the thing is, fluid and stuff in our body gets moved around through what we call passive circulatory. So like our arteries get pumped by the heart. Our veins actually get pumped by just us moving. Every time we move, it just helps squeeze the blood through, and it only can go one way, so it moves through. What I found, one issue is if a kangaroo had to be hospitalized for too long and wasn't able to move much, we'd almost guaranteed that we'd run into an edema situation in their ankles, and their whole leg would just start swelling up because they don't have enough muscles in that to actually flex. So the blood and the
just collects.
I wasn't going to say blood, but just the fluid, like the lymph, everything just kind of would start ballooning up and collecting. So we'd have to get them to move, but usually we have them on haloperidol so that they're not like launching themselves into the walls and dying because they can launch like 15 feet straight up.
yeah. In a normal ceilinged house, I could see that being a problem.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the way the locomotion itself is phenomenal, but yeah, like, you know, they're fairly clumsy, moving slowly.
Yep.
And yeah. And actually another thing, this will segue. Segue into our next topic is their cells are built for large bursts of energy. Yeah. So what I read was kangaroo have almost double the amount of mitochondria. Remember, everyone from your high school science class, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
They've got almost double the mitochondria in a cell as a normal placental.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. So their bodies and their muscle tissue are and they've got huge vascular, system.
Yeah.
But they can, turn, food into energy incredibly quickly. Kind of. Their cells can.
Yes. They still have to digest it.
Yes. So, and they are rudiments. Is that the right?
Ruminants.
Ruminants. Thank you. Which means they eat grasses and they ferment it and all this other stuff. Which, I mean, it sounds like cows and all that, but it's vastly, vastly different. And way better for the environment. Yes.
Because they make way less methane. So so efficiently wise. See, that I want to look more into that because the amount of meat you can get from them is far, far less than what you can get from a cow.
Oh, so you kind of want to look at how many pounds of flesh per pollutant. So they still do create methane. And methane is a pollutant. I mean, even though it's a naturally derived
greenhouse gas.
It's a greenhouse gas. It comes from the fermentation process of cows' rudiments, breaking down those heavy cellulose, heavy fibered grasses and things for fuel and food. And which kangaroos do. They don't have 4 stomachs. They only have 2. And this is where I want to ask Whitney, is I saw a lot of conflicting articles, some saying that kangaroos will chew cud, others saying they do not.
Whoever said they don't is an idiot.
Okay.
So they do regurge, and it is gross, and it's weird when they do it because their front limbs go together and they kind of like
they kind of Heimlich maneuver themselves.
Imagine like holding on to it looks like they're Heimliching themselves, but imagine somebody holding on to like one of those old time like TNT like plungers.
Oh, okay.
And then
so it's not peaceful,
over
like
again.
A cow just kind of burps. It's not peaceful.
And then it comes out, and then they swallow it up again. So
I know.
For a little bit. Whoever said that they don't is
okay. I read somewhere that they don't, and I was like, huh?
This is why I don't trust the internet.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the fermentation, the chemical process produces a lot of hydrogen gas. So what kangaroos have is an incredible, like really great bacteria. And there's a lot of research being done on this bacteria right now because it's a cow's bacteria that turn it into methane. Kangaroos have different bacteria that does turn some into methane, maybe about 25% of the amount that a cow does. But the rest, it turns into acetic acid, which is great, once again, for muscle growth. So you just took these powerhouse motherfuckers and just gave them more juice. And I mean, they're muscular by design, as well as like they're constantly fighting and moving and stuff, but they're also, their bodies are geared toward it.
Yeah. Well, remember, cows are also all muscle. That's what we eat.
It is.
They are very powerful,
But there's a
muscular
lot of
things.
research right now
But
into,
yes,
getting this
make them
this
more efficient.
using different bacteria into other rudiments to try
Yep.
and get them to
Ruminants.
produce more of that acetic acid and less of the methane. Just
Yes.
incredibly cool. Um,
Yeah.
but
So,
yes.
yep. I think they were doing some of that even at Iowa State when we were there because they had those cows that have the holes in the side where they could do the
Yeah, it looks like a
bacterial.
nice little, like, porthole, like you find on a
Yeah.
submarine, and then you can just kinda
Reach
get into
in
the
and
ship.
grab a chunk of stuff. But
The
yeah,
cow didn't really seem to mind
they
either. You,
don't.
like, open up a little plug and reach into its gut. It didn't seem to care.
Once it's there, it's there. But yeah, but yeah, the kangaroos that they definitely regurge. They definitely do that. They are more
Mhm.
efficient. My worry is the like meat to uh
Yeah,
gain
get
ratio, and then
grain, yeah.
also and the grazing field that they would need because smaller animals tend to be less efficient than larger animals.
And that's what they are less efficient. They're less
Yeah.
efficient than cows and stuff. They spend about 10 hours a day eating,
Yep.
and grazing, which, is a good amount of their day.
Yes.
In fact, the most time they're active is dusk and dawn. There was a fancy word for that kind of lifestyle.
Crepuscular.
It's crep say it again.
Crepuscular. Um,
Crepuscular. Sounds
Crepuscular. I
dirty.
talk about this all the time because
Sounds
people don't
dirty.
realize that crepuscular is actually the number. This is once again placental mammals. All right, we understand that because we are, but that's actually the minority on the planet.
Yeah, that
And
we
then
consider that the norm, and it's like, no,
and
we're
this
the fucking
whole
weirdos.
diurnal thing, that is what we are, so we understand it. But actually, that's the minority on the planet. Most things are crepuscular, which means most active at dawn and dusk. So they
So they
sleep during the hottest part of the day. They
kinda
sleep at
like
the
Spaniards.
darkest
So
part.
that siesta, guys, don't stop doing your
Yeah.
siesta. You
So
are
the siesta.
right.
Dogs are crepuscular.
Mm.
I have to
I
deal with
just
this all
thought
the
they were
time
German.
because people will
I
be
meant in a
complaining
loving way.
about their dog going crazy around like 7 o'clock. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
because it's when they
'Cause they're
wake up. They
crepuscular. Duh.
literally they're
I
crepuscular
have
and
to
waking
use
up.
that in conversation. I'm gonna look at someone dead in
Yeah,
the eye and go, "Well, that's because your dog is crepuscular."
yeah,
And
exactly.
just act like they should know that word.
Yeah, because they're crepuscular. I
'Cause they're
say it all the time.
crepuscular.
I
Duh.
say it multiple times a day for the
And now, everyone, I have fulfilled my portion of today's episode where you
yep,
learn something. Crepuscular. Now,
crepuscular.
just to make you laugh.
Yes,
That is the rest of my contribution to this episode will just be I don't know, shits and
more
giggles,
words. Yeah.
more
So
words.
yeah, I'd
Um,
like to see more research into that. I definitely think it's a way to go. I
Crepusculism.
well
Look, I'm inventing words now. Crepusculism.
crepuscular. Um,
I mean,
yeah,
there is research to say that humans did typically wake with the sun, go to bed at
well, we
sunrise
might be
down.
crepuscular, but we've forced ourselves into
A di-
capitalism. Once again, it all goes back to capitalism.
no, this is even before that. But remember, you hear the stories of the witching hour. Humans typically we didn't need 14 hours of sleep. Humans would typically wake up around midnight, have
Yeah,
sex or so for an hour, that
or
midnight
read or
snack and stuff
whatever.
for about an
Yep.
hour. Yeah, be up for about an hour, then go back to
There,
sleep.
there was actually a term. There was another term. It wasn't witching hour, but it was just they started
The
finding that in
fucking hour?
books. The what?
The fucking hour? I don't know.
No. Well, they just did stuff like it. Sometimes that would be it, but like it was like I can't remember the word
Just
they
the middle of the
used,
night,
but
wake up
it
and
was
be like,
confusing.
"Huh,
It was
gonna go
confusing
have a
people for a long
sandwich."
time, and they'd find it in all these old like books, but like novels and things, and or stories of people doing something, and they would describe this time that they just woke up. But the thing was, it was so normal that they didn't explain it. So then researchers had to like figure out what the hell people were
They're
talking
like,
about.
"Tell
Well,
us what you were doing."
it's
Nobody
literally
wakes
just
up at
it's
midnight to go clean the bathroom. God damn
yeah,
it.
that's literally yeah. Somebody would just wake up, have a little snack, or read a book, or do some notes, or be a little productive, and then go back to bed. That was a
Uh,
normal thing until like the 18th or 19th century.
there we go. Stuff that we forced ourselves. Maybe we'd be happier if we were. See, that's yeah. Maybe is that an anti-crepuscular? Because it's like I don't know.
We're something different.
I don't know. But anyway, so we should all be kangaroos. We should all be more kangaroo-like. I don't know. It sounds good. I mean, look, efficient ways of traveling, using less farty, don't smell as bad. Hey, I like the one last time we talked about some of them smell like maple syrup. I would consider, yeah, I'd be happy to smell like maple syrup most of the time. Sure, why not? Yep. I could go 45 miles an hour for a couple hours at a time and smell like maple syrup. I'm not thinking this is a bad life. Oh, then again, there's that whole freaking carrying around 50. Well, how much are the Joeys?
The Joeys are 1/3 to 1/4 to 1/3 of the female's body weight.
Yeah, right before they get kicked out. Yeah, no, I'm not. Never mind. I'm not sure I like that part.
Yeah, and you basically
and you're pregnant too at once.
For that, so this will go back to the last episode. There was an issue with we were talking about embryonic diapause, and there was a situation that I ran into when we were doing that, and the thing was, we had a female. She was older, so we didn't think that she could breed, but she was just on that upper cusp of the breeding age.
You mean geriatric pregnancy, which was a term used for me, which I don't particularly like.
Say that again?
Geriatric pregnancy, it's called. For humans, it's if you're pregnant over the age of 40. It's a geriatric pregnancy. Yeah, I love that one.
I mean, they have to tell. I mean, there's reasons.
They don't have to call it down the ward as you're about to give birth. Geriatric pregnancy.
Okay, that they can avoid. But I'm like, they do.
We don't need.
In the animal care world, we want to know. But
all right, back to the kangaroos.
So we had her separated from a male, and usually we would separate the male, and then we'd still keep that mob that breeding mob together before we start putting them out into the much larger fields with the bachelors and bachelorettes, because we wanted to make sure that the females didn't go through that embryonic diapause, which was that pause that they would do. And at one point,
the females are stressed. They can stop the development.
They can pause the development, and it can last over a year. They can pause it for over a year.
For humans, that would be. I mean, it's only for the 4 weeks. But imagine being able to do that. Husband's being a jerk. Well, you're not going to have a kid for a little bit longer until I feel more loved and stable.
We waited the normal allotted time. We waited basically a year, and we put that female back in with the bachelorette mob. So she went from a small field, always stressed out because she just was one of those that's just like high strung because she doesn't like noises. And when you're in the breeding field, you're more like by things that are happening. Put her back out there, and then a month later,
there's little Joey going, hello.
Well, actually, it was a couple months later because it was 1 month gestation, and then it took enough time for the Joey to get big enough that we could see what we would call it as the wiggle, because the Joey wouldn't look out, but we'd start seeing slight movement in the pouch, and we're like, there's a Joey in there.
There's a Joey in there kicking around.
Yeah, and then
that's sweet.
Oh yeah,
the old lady
she had a geriatric pregnancy, and then we were just hoping, we're like, please be a female, because we didn't want to go hunting down this male in the 30-acre field because we had to take him out eventually. But if it was female, we just like, call it. He stays out there. She stays out there.
In your opinion, which, I mean, your opinion's probably the best I'm going to get on this. Do you think so we all know there's a hippo problem in Colombia because Pablo Escobar, it is weird. We'll do a whole episode on it. Pablo Escobar had hippos in his private zoo. They got out when he was killed, and now there's a lot of them. If we were to release, say, I don't know, 25, even 50 kangaroos in North America, would they be able to survive?
Nope. There's too much toxoplasmosis and other diseases. So toxoplasmosis is a disease that has multiple points in its life cycle. It's a fungus. It's one of the reasons why pregnant women or anybody who's on a immunosuppressant is not allowed to change the cat litter, because it comes out of the cat feces. And this is one of those fun organisms that actually alters the mind of whatever it has. It's with.
There's a percentage of South American population. It was a high percentage too of 10 to 20% of the people have toxoplasmosis poisoning.
Oh
And
no, it's way higher than that.
is it way higher than that? Okay.
It's like 70% of the U.S.
Does oh really? Shit.
Yeah, has some level of it, and I'll
And
explain.
it does alter the brain.
Yes. So here's what its life cycle. It goes in the cat's gut, and then it takes in the cat feces. Then the cat shits somewhere. It's on the grass. Then it gets eaten
Looking
by
for a
something
new host.
like a rat or a bird or something that eats the grass. But they just rub around by it, and then they get ingested with it. And what it does is it makes you like cats. So that this prey item,
Think about that.
so it now is in the blood of the prey item, and that's where its next life cycle is. And then the prey item goes, I like cats, and runs up to the cat, gets eaten by the cat, and now it's back into the next phase of the life cycle.
So all you people who don't like cats, you're right.
Yeah, so basically we have a fungus.
I don't have a cat.
That's my whole theory. I have this is one of my conspiracy theories. That
the
reason people are obsessed with cats on the internet is because everybody's infected with this fungus that's changing our brains.
So what you're saying is this fungus, though, would irreparably harm the kangaroos and
it is very dangerous. In fact, that's one of the yes,
I know cats are
a big problem everywhere. They're not in Australia, but they are now there. There's a bunch of projects to go hunt them and just kill all the feral cats because
so kangaroos are not they're not endangered. The larger kangaroos are not. Some of the smaller ones are. Some of the rat-sized ones
and the potaroos. Yeah, I worked with a few of those
because of domesticated cats again.
Yep, and it's not just overhunting, but it's also the disease factor. So toxoplasmosis is not 100% fatal to kangaroos, but it's up there. And like we would test them for titers, which titers is just a marker that shows that you've had the disease. Like your immune system is showing that, hey, I have these antibodies because I've been exposed to
because I dealt with this shit.
Yeah,
that's
honestly,
how vaccines work. Sorry.
Usually those the titers is usually how they like those little things that change color. They're attaching to titers, and that tells you, oh, this person has been exposed to COVID or whatever. We now know that because a lot of people test for COVID. But if you go to the doctor's office, they test for strep. That's what they're looking for a lot of times. That or an active growth. But if so anyway, we would test kangaroos for that all the time because if they had it, it was not a good time. There was like this one drug that we could give them, and it was $1,000 a dose, and we had to be 100% sure. And you have to put it into their system like within a day or two of
in order for it to work.
Okay. Yeah, for it to work. So it's like this one of those like 1 in a million shots.
Well, humans are like that with rabies. You know, there's a rabies vaccine, but it only works up to a certain point.
And also, like, what is it? There's all sorts of horror stories from people because even like medical workers don't deal with it enough. So they think that you'll have like days and weeks. You have like 24, 48 hours after the bite. If you don't have a vaccine in you already,
depending on the metabolism, some people have lasted longer.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pump one of my shows I like, Mr. Ballin, Medical Mysteries. Yeah. There was a guy who got a transplant, an organ transplant from somebody.
Right. But that one was a weird one.
Okay, so this guy, it had rabies in it, and they didn't give him the vaccine for like it was almost a year later.
It did not follow the regular life cycle of the disease. Okay.
All right. So in an extreme case, I am right.
Yeah.
Most Whitney's usually right.
Because he also had some of the antibodies from the organ itself.
Okay.
Which yeah.
But another guy who got the organs died.
Yeah.
Couple survived, couple guys died.
Well, rabies isn't well, no, it's pretty close.
All right. Back to the okay, anyway, so
if you get bit by something you think it's rabies
in the wild of America.
Yeah, if you get bit by something and you think it's rabies, go to the doctor immediately, have them give you the whole rigmarole.
It sucks, but it's worth it.
You don't know if you need it because they will try to not give it to you because it's super duper expensive.
But that's what you pay insurance for.
Insurance might not cover it. This is America.
Anything could happen in America. Yeah. You're rolling the dice every time you leave the goddamn house. But anyway, so kangaroos Awesome. And I'm gonna go back and listen to some more didgeridoo music. I don't know. Does it ever change? Or is it just a buzz? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
there's all sorts of sounds they can make with
I
the
want
didgeridoo.
heavy metal didgeridoo music.
I think there is one actually. There is like an
Really?
Australian metal band that incorporates didgeridoos.
I'm gonna totally have
I
to look for
haven't
that.
heard it in a while, but yes, it does exist. Anyway,
Of
yeah, I
course
guess
you
that's
know it.
it for the kangaroo
Which
adventures
are
for now. Until something
awesome.
else jogs my memory.
You know what? I highly, highly doubt we are done with kangaroo stories with you because in fact
have a few.
I kind of want to make you a shirt now of just a kangaroo nonchalantly looking at you while licking something that could be a snow cone, but it's not.
It's his balls.
If we
Oh
ever get to
shoot!
the point where we get enough fans
I forgot
to
about
make
this.
shirts, if we get enough fans, we'll make a what the fauna shirt
I
with a
just looked
big
over
kangaroo
for
licking his
you guys
balls.
in non-video world. You're not going to be able to see this, but I forgot about this photo. This was the little guy who I said who was blind.
Whitney is showing a picture of himself holding a little Roo in a pouch.
Yeah, well, it's a homemade pouch made out of that we sewed together from
Yeah, it's a pouch.
towels.
It's a pouch.
Yeah.
Well, I don't expect you to taxidermy a female kangaroo to make pouch. Oh God, is that creepier? Or is that better?
It's
Like,
probably creepier.
like
You want to clean
I'm
that shit.
not saying it's that kangaroo's mom. It was a
Right.
kangaroo's mom, and
But
here's
the thing is, you have to
taxidermy
clean
pouch
it,
when
and if
it's
it's
soft.
leather, if you have to clean it, and if it's leather, you're making it real difficult for yourself.
That's true. I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah, with the fabric,
Do they eat it or they just lick it out and spit it out?
No, they eat it.
Okay, I mean, well, they are ruminants.
They got,
so, you know.
well, if you think about it, almost every female, how do they get the babies to poop?
They lick its booty hole
and eat it as it comes out.
Yeah, didn't think of that.
Do you know why they do that?
Yes, I do. It has to do with developing their digestive tract properly.
Nope.
Isn't it sharing the bacteria?
Nope, that just happens naturally.
Oh, that's just koalas. Well, that's what puppy breath is. Puppy breath is from an underdeveloped digestive system.
Is eating the feces, that's not sharing her bacteria with the baby.
Oh, well, I thought maybe, I don't know. It depends how far you put your tongue in their butt.
The more feces there is, the more smell there is. The more smell there is, the more predators come get attracted. So therefore, babies literally cannot defecate or urinate until they're stimulated. So if you don't stimulate them, they literally will bound up and then die from just like.
Okay, so it's an evolutionary thing. Like mom will let you know when it's safe.
Correct. Then the mom does it and then eats it as it comes out, so there's never a buildup, and done. So that's how most moms in nature take care of that.
You know, mom's just all sorts of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human mommies, we're doing good. Apparently, that females teaching the young, we've been doing it right. We're not eating poo any longer.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did any of the dads have to eat the poo?
Yeah, why would the dads are never there?
I don't know. Maybe the dad wants to help. I don't know.
Nope.
Maybe orphans, because there's a lot of.
I've never seen the males. This is usually during the early phases. So with placental, it's during the nursing phase. So most of the males aren't around because it's all during the nursing.
I don't know. I'm looking for a man to have to eat a shit sandwich too. God damn it.
Once again, reason number 10,783 why it's great to be the male.
Yeah, but external genitalia, really? Such a terrible idea.
So many
problems with that. So anyway, thank you once again for joining us on What in the Fauna?
What the Fauna?
Yeah, I keep wanting to add a word in there. It's my problem. I keep wanting to say what in the fauna. That's not the show. It's not WITF. Whiffed. It's what the fauna. Besides what I say. Yeah, so next week will be my week. Where I get to present an animal. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. The world is our oyster.
Oysters.
Yeah, I'm trying. There's so many awesome animals, and when these get live and stuff, please send in great ideas. we try to do some really weird ones, but some normal ones too. I don't know. I'm getting this pink fairy armadillo. I don't
Oh, those
know.
are fun. I like
I
armadillos.
think armadillo should be great. I'm thinking that, but
Got my finger trapped in an armadillo once. I know that will end that.
That totally should be the start of a joke. I don't know.